Hello, nerds, and welcome. We are Crossing the Nerdverse, bringing you yet another episode. I am joined, as always, by my fantastic co-hosts, Eric and Ryan. Bones is currently traveling on his way back to Colorado, and he will be joining us next week, where we will be talking about comics. So definitely look out for next week's episode. Again, it's May, so this is the May, and we, of course, will be talking about Star Wars.
Talking about it.
Yeah, whatever. 6 1 half dozen.
I mean, it's pretty close to what we're doing tonight. So
Yeah, and I had to name the episode Flavorful Tomato just because Andor is doing so well on Rotten Tomato.
Yeah.
So, we're going to throw this out there. If you have not watched all of season 2, spoilers ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
be prepared.
That's actually a good moment. During this month, gentle listeners, we are going to be covering Star Wars, and Star Wars is in direct contrast to a lot of our content like 40K. In 40K, there is no canon, and everything is canon. Star Wars, it gets a little bit more controversial on what is considered canon, what isn't, and everybody kind of has their own beliefs. Because of that, there is going
bacteria.
There's going to be full spoiler warning for particular today, Andor Season 2. And so if you've not finished Andor Season 2, that's cool. You stop listening right now. All of our stuff's going to stay uploaded.
Show.
Go watch the show. Come back, talk about it.
You know what happens.
Call it sick to work. Binge watch it.
The guy dies. You'll be all right.
Everybody dies in the end.
Yes, they're not going to be there much longer.
All I can think of is the Patrick Stewart Saturday Night Live thing where he's like the annoying people on the plane. And he's like, I've read that book. He dies at the end.
Yeah, he's dead. Everyone's seen Rogue One. Let's not pretend.
But before we jump into Star Wars, we're going to go through and do our little round table news. Eric, do you want to start us off?
Probably the only thing with me that I've seen of GTA 6, I don't know how much I believe that some of that was gameplay. Looks cool, though. Great job with it. I can't really say anything bad about it just because they haven't lied to us before.
I was going to say, GTA 5's trailers were also gameplay trailers.
Yeah, so I have
as far
to give
as the
them,
graphics go.
Benefit of the doubt. I mean,
for sure.
They haven't lied before, and they're like very community-based. Second thing is, I'm hopefully going to be releasing either Friday or Monday the interview I did with SideQuest. That'll be coming out. A lot of people can check that out. Again, it's interactive theater. It's pretty cool. That's it for me.
Ryan, do you got anything? I've got 2 pieces I have to cover.
So, yeah, I actually have a little bit of unplugged news. We've covered this a little bit before as we're going in, but I did want to give, I guess this is more of a shout-out than anything. I want to talk about Trench Crusade. And so Trench Crusade, guys, is a new miniature skirmish game in the same vein as something like Mordheim or Warband that is coming out that is absolutely fantastic. I have several of my personal friends that are playing it. It is kind of taking the tabletop wargaming scene by storm, and they are still in kind of a supported Kickstarter kind of place. The basic story is effectively, this is a gross oversimplification, not exactly accurate, but it's what happens if the Crusades and World War I happened at the same time. And it's all...
Sweet.
Yeah, it's all demons and devils on Earth, war-torn Europe, post-apocalyptic landscape, and it's absolutely fantastic. I myself have been enjoying it, and I wanted to make sure to get the word out to all of our listeners that Trench Crusade is definitely a game to keep your eye on, definitely something that is a lot of fun. And bonus points for anybody interested, all of the rules and all of the things you need to play are free and available online.
Ooh. Free is always my favorite price.
But yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Trench Crusade. It's too good.
I'm going to start off with the sad news first that I have. And that's WWE went through a pretty hefty round of releases this last week. Some big names on there. I'm not going to go through the entire list. You can find it both on WWE's Twitter as well as all over like Facebook and Instagram and stuff. People are kind of outraged. Some of it I get. A lot of it I'm not really understanding the vitriol. Typically directed towards Triple H right now. At the end of the day, WWE's a business. Those people really weren't getting TV time except for Braun Strowman. But again, Braun Strowman needs double knee surgery. All they were using him for is that big mauling heel. You know, he was the big power guy. They have other big power guys on the roster. It's just one of those things. I understand why those people are getting cut, and I would rather see them have an opportunity to go to, you know, an indie promotion. You know, re-sign with TNA, re-sign with Ring of Honor, sign with AEW, sign with New Japan. I mean, there's promotion after promotion that they can go to and really work on trying to get that reconnection with the crowd that got them signed in the first place. There's not always going to be a spot on the roster for everyone. I am sad that they're cut, right? Like, I feel for those people, but at the same time, go out and prove WWE wrong. Be the Matt Cardona, win the internet, be the undisputed internet champion of the world. He was released from WWE and he has become such a stellar star outside of that.
They should definitely put more skill points in mic work. That's really what it is.
It's not even mic work with a lot of them. I mean, Braun Strowman's pretty limited what he can do, and it's not anything to do particularly with his size or that he's unathletic. He's just so banged up, and he just stays so banged up. His knees have been bad for a while. He had a bad back, a bad shoulder. Take some time off, heal. I think it's one of those things, if he could have maintained that crowd connection, he could have done what The Undertaker did. The Undertaker would disappear for months at a time. And that was to let those little nagging injuries heal. That's why The Undertaker's career lasted 40 years, is he would just take some time off.
That's exactly right.
But, he's also one of those, he's a generational talent at the end of the day. Nobody's ever going to be as big as The Undertaker. You talk about your Stone Colds, you talk about your Rock. Undertaker, I think, had a crowd connection that went beyond all of that because his career lasted so much longer than everyone else. But that's a topic for a different time. My other piece of news, and this is the good news, and it's doubly good for me, and that is new Space Wolf sculpts are coming out very soon. They should be hitting this summer. We're getting a new Logan Grimnar, which is great because it's no longer going to be Santa Grimnar in his weird hover chariot. Getting a new Najal Stormcaller, which I think it's been 15 years or more since they've released
at least
a new Stormcaller sculpt. Supposed to be getting new Tech Priests, new Iron Priests, new Rune Priests, all that fun stuff coming out for the Space Wolves, which leads me to my next bit of speculation, and that's my Primarchs coming back next. Suck it, Eric.
It is very much looking like that's going to be the case. We don't have any confirmation yet. In fact, the only thing that we've really got to lay eyes on so far is the new Logan Grimnar sculpt, which is fantastic, by the way.
God, those Thunderwolves next to him look so good.
Yeah. Generally, I do not adhere to this trait and quality here recently, where people are putting all of their miniatures like up on rocks or building them up to be in these big, tall, dynamic poses. But of all the people that needs that, Grimnar is just on that jagged stone, big Viking axe. It's so good.
There's such a huge tabletop disadvantage to putting your models up on because like
the build up.
Yeah, it creates line of sight. But anyway,
and also, just while we're on this topic, the new Arjak model.
Yeah,
throw in the hammer.
Yeah, you have the option of either him wielding it or him throwing it instead of the big swing. Even change the design of the hammer.
That.
He still looks fairly the same. I actually kit bashed a Arjak out of a Terminator. Looks pretty close.
It looks pretty close.
Honest. It looks pretty close.
Well, and that's something I really appreciate because the Najal Stormcaller model, Njal Stormcaller, Najal.
I have no idea how they decide to pronounce it. They pronounce stuff so weird.
I'm not a Viking, so. But his new model is in a very similar pose. It's basically just a prettied up, remastered version of his old model with some little bonuses and bits and bobs there, and I kind of love that.
Vertical staff as opposed to horizontal staff, and the Cyber Raven is now on top of the staff as opposed to on a shoulder. I've painted more than one Stormcaller, and getting that stupid Raven with that stupid fine cast resin to stick on his shoulder was the absolute worst. I was about ready to rage quit. Like, I've never contemplated burning someone else's model I was painting for them more than trying to get those stupid Ravens to stick on that shoulder.
And of course, we got the new Wolfguard models, which are the Space Wolf Terminators, and they're perfect, guys. They're amazing. So go check it out.
I don't think they posted a picture of one with the assault cannon, if I remember correctly. I'm hoping that's still an option for them.
Yeah. There is one with the assault cannon.
Okay, good.
Yeah, assault cannon and Thunderfist. And so guys, these sculpts are fantastic, and they decided to go ground up on all of them instead of it just being an upgrade kit, which the more I play, the more I'm just wildly adverse to upgrade kits in the game.
The only thing I use upgrade kits for is like my stock, like Blood Claws and Grey Hunters and stuff, because it's just they're Primaris, all Primaris Marines now anyway. So you just put the little kit and stick them on.
Well, and it's good to have in the bits box, and it's great for conversion materials. And actually, for a long time, I advocated for the upgrade kits. I thought that was awesome until we get to the point that the upgrade kits now cost nearly as much as a box of models.
They're like $15.
They were.
No, they still are. The last time I went to the store, the upgrade pack was still $15.
They're also removing a lot of upgrade packs, which have me gnashing my teeth, because the only way I was getting Brood Brothers for my Imperial Guard, the Genestealer Brood Brothers, was through upgrade pack, and that is just not available at present. I'm hoping it's just because it's getting a shine, but
sorry, I have to correct myself. It did go up. It's now $16.
All of $1.
I'm sorry.
It adds up.
I mean, it does, but...
And so, I don't know. In truth, I go back and forth because there's still a large part of my brain that I advocate for upgrade packs, but the more I play, the more I'm just like, fuck, I wish I could just buy a box of Brood Brothers. You know what I mean?
I wish tanks weren't so expensive.
Amen to that.
Make your own cardboard.
I am not nearly talented enough to do that.
Actually, I am going to go ahead and yank the reins here on the subject of cardboard proxies and alternate models. We are going to be doing a segment at some point, guys, covering a lot of miniatures wargaming. We always do. It kind of comes in rotations, probably a couple months down the line. But we did just have one huge release for the tabletop skirmish wargaming community. I talked about Trench Crusade already. What I didn't talk about was the 4th edition release for Malifaux. Now, Malifaux doesn't have nearly the player base that obviously Warhammer does, and what I'm hoping that Trench Crusade kind of grows into, but it is a game that's near and dear to my heart. I play it with my friends. The 4th edition is absolutely looking fantastic, and so we're going to be covering a lot of those in the future if there's interest. And so, plug time. If you are listening to this and you are interested in things like Malifaux 4th edition news, PK releases, and the like, be sure and give us a like, give us a follow, do all that fun algorithm stuff, guys. That's really kind of what keeps the lights burning around here. And so tell your friends about us, do all the fun algorithm stuff. Of course, the best way to support the channel is to buy some merch. We have some sweet new merch hitting the shelves very, very soon.
And by very soon, it's available now.
Is it today? Did we get it up there today?
It's today.
Fantastic. And so, we got some new stuff, guys.
No, it is today. Well, it was a couple days ago. It was a little bit ago, but I just got mine in.
And so the new hoodies in particular, guys, are fantastic. So that's the best way to support the channel. Second best way to support the channel isn't by giving us your money. It's by making YouTube give us theirs. So give us a like, give us a comment, get all that algorithm stuff going, and make YouTube support us instead of having to spend your own cash.
And with that, we're going to jump feet first into Star Wars.
Star Wars, this is the May.
This is the May.
I've been very, very excited about these segments. I know we're getting a little bit of a late start into May. Obviously, we planned on doing a show on the 4th, guys, and life just did not let that happen. And so
I had to be at work.
Yeah, I had some stuff I had to. Yeah, I got pulled away to help stop with some flooding issues here in town, and so it was a whole thing.
You guys are
but
high
we're here
up.
Today.
There shouldn't be any floods. You guys are at the top.
Yeah, if I just stayed in my house, I'd be fine, right?
Yeah, you guys are. Those other people down at the bottom of the hill.
But yeah, all throughout the month of May, guys, we're going to be covering Star Wars and Star Wars content. We did the exact same thing last year for those of us, or for those of you that have been following us for that long. And because we didn't get to do a show on the 4th, we're going to be covering a lot of content today, kind of getting prepped for This is the May. But primarily, as we warned you about at the beginning of the show, we're going to be talking about the Andor Season 2 release. I believe we're 8 episodes in? Out of a suspected 11?
I have no idea. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm so burnt out on Star Wars after how atrocious the Acolyte was.
I still liked Acolyte, man.
What's redeeming about the Acolyte? That was probably the worst piece of Star Wars content I think I've ever seen. I would rather watch a 4-hour clip of 2 shoeboxes sitting in the rain.
Man, yeah. So a lot of people agree with you. There is a lot of hate for Acolyte, kind of in the space, as it were. But I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a compelling story about force sensitivity amongst the twins. And I liked the fact that it wasn't just camera, hard focus, fisheye lens, zoom in on the Skywalkers and the Jedi Order.
No, it was good. Like, they had a lot of diversity to it. They changed the story a little bit, which made some people upset.
Yeah.
But I know it's not you, Travis. I know that wasn't you, but I'm saying it did. Like, some people got upset because I don't care if you change the story, like, as long as it's not something too crucial. The only thing I thought was
felt so lazy.
Well, there was one or two.
See, I didn't get
there
that.
was one whole episode that was really bad. Like, that was part of the problem, is like you can't have an entire episode this kind of shit. I don't remember which one it was, but there was one that was just garbage. But they were going in the right direction.
The
way
kyber
it ended.
crystals bleeding and becoming sad, and that's how you get red crystals, was a weird and useless piece of lore, as opposed to the way it was like some crystals are just red. And then I think the previous lore was that they were manufactured, and that's why they came out red, because you could produce any other color by doing it manufactured. The spell thing and then creating Force virgin babies blew the whole purpose of Anakin being special. Like, it literally ruins the whole point of Darth Vader and Anakin being special, because you could just do that. You could just chant the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Which, again, lazy storytelling, lazy writing.
So I absolutely agree with your assessment on that one. There were aspects about the main story in Acolyte that I didn't like, but this is not something new. With the advent of metachlorians in Episode 1, which released in 1999, the entire concept of a Jedi in a bottle is why I disliked that concept. I didn't dislike the entire movie. Obviously, I think Phantom Menace is one of the best Star Wars movies I've seen. But the Jedi in the bottle kind of aspect, I did not like. I don't like magic bacteria, as Travis joked about earlier. I think it was
that was a
terrible advent.
So stupid. So stupid as evil bacteria.
And this is where Star Wars fans tend to get the most aggravated and controversial and argumentative, is because of big lore changes like that. And the kyber crystals are actually a perfect example. Now, over time, we've had the evolution of the kyber crystal take some wild ass turns. Some of them are no longer canon, but were canon for many years. Others are still kind of in a limbo space of like, I guess it could happen with that. My defense for what Acolyte did is, and I'm just going to start with my personal opinion, I like the idea that a kyber crystal can become corrupted through the use of the Force more than I like, oh, they're synthetic crystals and everybody just makes them red, or something like that. The original iteration, there wasn't even much variation in the way of kyber crystals, guys. Lucas did not plan on having any lightsaber colors mean anything. He wanted blue for the good guys and red for the bad guys because it contrasted. It was a black and white, good versus evil hero's journey story. Now, with the advent of the books, the comics, the video games, and every form of media out there, that has continued to evolve.
The underwear.
Now, in the aspects of Acolyte, before we get into Andor, the aspects of Acolyte that I'm going to defend against Travis is that when it comes to the way the Force works in Star Wars, it's always been an ephemeral thing. Sometimes it is portrayed as an extremely sentient force, enacting its will throughout the galaxy. Other times it's portrayed as a neutral, just energy, and how you use it determines on whether it's the light side or the dark side of the Force. And even when you start getting into some of the current canon, you get things like, what are they called, the Triumvirate, where you have the Force's three entities that is at war with itself. I don't much care for that, as much as I love the Rebels animated show. I don't like old daddy Force and angry children. I didn't care for that analogy. And with Acolyte, they really leaned heavily into that ethereal, ephemeral, unknown aspect of the Force. And we do know that Force can be used for something very akin to magic. We have canon event from that from several sources, the most prominent of which is probably the Witches of Dathomir, which can use the Force to make zombies and keep souls around as ghosts and all kinds of wild shit. And so if you're going to be able to have Force necromancers and accept that magical use of that, I don't mind the use of Force in a ritualistic manner by a non-Jedi sect of Force sensitives on a backwater planet. I think that the claim that it devalues Anakin Skywalker's storyline is just not accurate in a way of scale. And here's why.
But he was special because he was born of the Force, right? That's why he was special. That's so legit why he was part of the prophecy, Ryan. Like,
yeah,
it's
no, but here's the part that you're missing. He was special as a part of that prophecy according to the Jedi mortals that interpreted that. They couldn't even agree on what the prophecy meant. Even with Anakin's first stuff, there was huge arguments between Yoda and Mace Windu and the entire council whether or not the prophecy was even real. What made Anakin Skywalker special didn't have anything to do with the prophecy or even how he was born, because even in the prophecy, that was just a way to identify him. What made him special is what he accomplished while he was here and what he did. Now, it's also the same exact thing when you look, I'm going to use an analogy, you look at cars, especially here in America. Cars are everywhere. Everybody drives everywhere. It's too big to not to. And one thing everybody complains about is gas prices. It's a huge controversial thing. There are people out there that have developed ways to make their car run on corn oil or even water. But that has not replaced gasoline and petrol as the primary fuel source. It's the exact same thing that we're dealing with in Acolyte. You're looking at a very grand scale use of Force destiny in the form of Anakin Skywalker, which was supposed to bring balance to the Force, which ultimately he kind of did. And you're applying
that
it.
Is correct. There was 2 and 2. That's balanced. The scales were.
People never realized that, and I think that's part of the reason they got a little upset with how many Jedi kept surviving. Is because it no longer balanced out.
I advocate that you don't get hung up on that one particular line from a mortal given prophecy interpreted by some dogmatic religious nonsense in the Jedi Council.
But you're jumping from one dogmatic religious group to another dogmatic religious group.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, no contest on that one.
Yeah.
But again, if the Jedis were aware that this group exists, which they are, and they knew that they could just create a Force baby, why would then the prophecy mean anything at all for episodes 1, 2, and 3? And
but we don't know that doesn't. We don't know that was the case. We knew the Jedi were aware of them, but not what they were capable of. That could have been a very deeply guarded secret, and may not have even been in place to work by the time Acolyte went around.
I don't know, man. It feels.
Anakin was so much different than those two, though. He was level 100 when he was 2.
Well, and that's the point. Is his power levels and what he was destined to do was what made him special.
We're never going to agree. We should just move on, because we could argue this until the sun comes up, because I'm not.
But yeah, and
I'm not going to change my opinion on it.
And this all goes back. The reason it's actually relevant going into the Andor series, guys, is this all ties back to Metachlorians and the Phantom Menace and the fall of the Republic, ultimately, and what was going on. Now, again, Jedi's in a bottle. If Metachlorians give you Force powers and everything's just magic bacteria, then cool. Inject any idiot with Jedi in a bottle and give them Force powers and let them go about their thing.
Or antibiotics and then take them all away.
Or take them all away, yeah.
Yeah, I could go ham with 2 bottles of Twin Pen and just eliminate every Force user.
That's what makes you Force sensitive, is you don't have a good enough immune system to fight it off.
Yeah, you're immune compromised, and that's what makes you a Jedi.
To get back to Star Wars, does anybody realize that Disney does a lot better not doing Jedi-based shows? If you look at Skeleton Crew Crew is really good. I mean, there is a Jedi in it, I get it. But it doesn't focus around the Jedi as much. It's more just regular humans and aliens and stuff getting along and fucking.
I actually have a theory on this.
Galaxy. Hold on a second. And then on top of that, when you look at Andor is really good because they do the spies. So they've done the spy aspect to it. You got the James Bond type shit going on.
Which honestly I love, because that is such that's such a big part of a rebellion. Versus, again, the secret police and spies and stuff that the Empire has, and then, the rebels, and then third-party mercenary groups. There's so much spycraft that happens when there's conflict, and even when there's not conflict, there's still spycraft happening. So again, it's great. It gives it a touch of realism to the setting.
So that, I think, is a big part of it. Now, Travis, you actually hit the nail on the head when we first started talking about this. And while yes, we disagree on your reasoning, you're not wrong.
With evil
bacteria? The fact that No, with Burnout on Star Wars. So Burnout, we had this whole discussion with superheroes when we were in DC month, right? Where people are just burnt out on superheroes. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not burnt out on superheroes. You're burnt out on Hollywood making the exact same story over and over and over again. That's what you're burnt out on. There's no change.
Or just going quantity over quality.
Yeah, which if it was a different enough story, you can slide the quality down and people will still love it. I mean, cult classics exist that were not good movies at the time they came out. Fifth Element is a great example of everybody loves that movie. I love that movie.
I love that movie.
And when it came out, it was soup sandwich.
Their critics bombed that movie.
Wild Wild West with Will Smith in it. That was considered one of the worst movies to ever come out. And yet,
I mean,
most people that I know of, myself included, I love that movie. I think it's hilarious.
It's good for what it is. It's definitely a good nod to the show, because the show was also very unserious.
Yeah.
And I think people were expecting more of I guess they were expecting more serious and less slapstick. And I'm like, that's not what the original Wild Wild West was like.
It went too far slapstick.
It went way too far. I think
was a problem.
Because the original one was meant to be a gritty Western kind of a serious story.
I mean, there was serious tones to the original, but like the guy had the like spring-heeled boots that let him jump higher, and like there's so much goofy shit in the original. Like,
but that's considered one of the worst movies of all time. And we just watched it here recently. We sat and did some Google searches
Snow
on
White
it.
took the record, though.
We can't get into Snow White this episode.
No,
I'm
just
can't
saying.
do it.
Must avoid.
I don't even care about the
touch it.
political side of it. I just love the fact that it's like 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, and finally someone's like, they made a movie worse than the Dragon Ball movie.
Right. So, in any case, it
That
is my
movie was
personal
great.
belief, whether we're talking about Star Wars or whether we're talking about superhero movies, the burnout is because they hyper focus on things that made the money once. I really hope we do not get any more Skywalker saga movies. I know it's kind of a hot take. I don't want
we
any
already
more.
are.
I don't want Luke's kids. I don't want any of it.
I mean, I brought this up in our previous Star Wars episodes. Like, there's a universe is huge, right? Like,
Huge.
the galaxy is a big place. Why are we focusing on the same 10 groups?
That's a fact.
Give me some stories that we haven't seen. Like, honestly, I was originally against the Obi-Wan show. And I enjoyed it. It was all right. It did good. I think for one season, I think it was great. It gave good character development to, like, the Obi-Wan you see in episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
If I'm going to see I want new stories. I want new stories with new characters, and I want it well written. I don't care. If the action's not great, we can go back to the like 1980s lightsaber duels that were very like bang, bang, bang. If the story's good, I'm down, right? We don't have to have these crazy wild fights, and I just want it to focus on like not anyone we've seen before. It's like, here's
and I think
Jedi who's it, you know, who's a good dude for the sake of being good. Here's the bad guy who's doing bad things for the sake of being bad, and then like let it roll.
Well, and there's enough people that like their specific things. So I'll preface it like this. I personally believe that every Star Wars fan, if you are a Star Wars fan, you have a thing about Star Wars that appeals to you the most. Everybody's got their little attachments in Star Wars. For the vast majority of people, especially the ones that watch the movies and they were like, it was okay, yeah, I guess I'm a Star Wars fan. Cool. You liked the Skywalker saga, right? Those 6 movies, was about the Skywalkers. It's what they did. And it was all an allegory for World War II wrapped in Grecian storytelling, and that's all it was.
There's also tons of like samurai films, like
and the Seven Samurai
fairy tales. Yeah.
You guys are getting a little deep here with this.
I mean, that's what inspired the story writing for it.
Yeah. So when you look at Star Wars, try to think about like what is it about Star Wars that you are attached to. For me, I'm a spaceships guy. I like the vehicles. I think that is the coolest part. And so getting a show like Andor, like Mandalorian, that gives me some in-depth examples of ships I've never seen before, getting to see how they function, looking at prototypes during the war effort. That's a fantastic aspect about that show that I think makes me love it. For other people, it's the exploration of the Force and what destiny means. And for others, it's the alien species and how fan art capable they are. I'll put it like that. And
Ryan's a fan of anything with tentacles.
Just saying.
Just bringing that up again. That's why he's Tentai Rai.
And I think that if you try to watch a show that doesn't have what you are looking for in it, that you're not going to enjoy it as much. Duh, right? And so since everybody's attached to the Skywalker saga, they are wanting that. They want to see Skywalkers doing Jedi shit. And I think that we've done that to death. We've beat that horse to death.
I wonder how much of that obsession over the Skywalker saga is nostalgia as opposed to like just craving more content. I wonder how much like there's only so many times where like you jump into something and you're like, I remember how this made me feel as a kid, and then when it doesn't make you feel the same way as an adult, you're like, meh. And so I get it. Like I said, there's redeeming things. Like there's redeeming things in everything, right? There's some stuff that I'm gonna like, and there's some stuff I'm gonna dislike. You know, I'm not. You know, I rail on the Acolyte a lot because it probably falls into one of my least favorite current storytelling methods of the bad guys not actually being bad and the good guys not actually being good. I don't want reality bleeding into my fantasy is my thing. Is like I like having someone that's very clearly the person to
cheer for.
You like
some black and white.
I do like a little black and white. I don't mind some like gray. Specifically, I mean going to one of my favorite sci-fi franchises that only got one season ever, and that's Firefly. The scene where Mal like beats the guy in the duel and he was like, "Mercy's the mark of a great man," and then he kind of pokes him with the sword and he's like, "I guess I'm just a good man." And then he sits there for a minute and he pokes him again. He's like, "I'm okay." Like, that's a morally gray thing to do, because you're just inflicting pain on somebody because you have power over them, right? Like, that's a morally gray thing. But I'm still okay with it because it made sense for his character. But it's like, they try to make the organization as a whole for the Jedi and the Acolyte look a little scummy. And I don't particularly care for that.
Oh, so it's challenging your concepts of like the good and evil in the
Well,
universe.
it's the Jedi are supposed to be the paragons of good, right? Like, that's the whole purpose of the Jedi and the Sith. You have the paragons of good and the paragons of evil. That's the dichotomy, right? And that's why one is you're supposed to cheer for and one you're supposed to boo, right? It's the same thing in wrestling. You have your faces and you have your heels. I like being able to distinguish my good guys and bad guys. I don't like this everything's morally gray that they put on everything, because it just gray washes everything. And I was like, I get it. Like, you want a touch of reality in your fantasy, but that's not the way I would go. And so I just don't care for it.
And I think that's what Andor is doing so well, is because he's doing so many things as part of the rebellion. Because we saw the rebellion as this like diehard, like good guy stuff for so long, and like the way he's getting info, the way he's accomplishing missions and stuff, he's sacrificing people. Like one part, he shot his friend. Like all these different things happen, and it's something that you get to see the dark side of the rebellion.
For
like,
sure. But
realistically,
again,
that's what it is.
Like, war is dirty business, right? Spycraft is even worse.
Right, well, Star Wars didn't portray that.
No, the original Star Wars didn't. But again, like, you have to have that in any spy movie. You have to have those guys that are just like, well, I can't have any scruples because the mission is the number one priority.
Well, I think where Travis lands on that is the big difference when you start looking at Andor is Travis is attached to the Jedi and the use of the Force as the most powerful thing in Star Wars. And so having them be an unshakable, uncorruptible kind of rock is something that you can stand on and that you can get behind, and you don't have to second guess yourself or wonder if we're the bad guys because we have baby manacles.
That is still the best meme that ever came out from the Mandalorian show. Is like, we have baby manacles? Wait, are we the bad guys?
Have either of you guys read like the High Republic or whatever books?
So I have checked out the High Republic. I actually just saw a comment from Roaming Crow on our YouTube side talking about Dr. Aphra that's kind of falls into that same realm.
Give me a very quick shakedown of who Dr. Aphra is.
Okay, so one sec. One thing
we'll do the High Republic first.
Just that's what you need to read, Travis, if you want the Jedi thing. They literally know that, like, at one point, I'm going to give away this scene, but it's only a small portion. They have to try to stop this fucking moon from crashing into a planet. They literally all like come together with this weird force ability. I don't know what the fuck it was called, knowing that they were just going to die. Knowing that they were just going to fucking die. Yeah. That's how good they are. Like, they're not giving a fuck. Like, literally sacrificing themselves left and right. Like, people, I don't know how they connected over such a long distance.
It's how I like my paladins. Lawful good.
Yeah, just, I need to channel this and focus on this and not fly this ship anymore. Okay, let me just do that. And they do that and they die. I'm like, the amount of them that died, like, sacrificing themselves for that was such an eye-opener to what the Jedi Order was to what it became.
They, and then talking about the Jedi Order, sacrifice is one of the tenets, right? Like, that's one of the things that they preach to the people is about sacrifice. Giving your life up to save others is like the highest form of righteousness that you can take. Like, and it's not one of those things where they're telling you to frivolously throw your life away to prevent a single evil, but it's one of those things where if you have to take a stand and die, then that's fine, as long as you're on the side of righteousness. And so that's kind of the thing that gets lost when they try to make everything gray.
Yeah, and see, I think I agree with you, and I can back you on that particular aspect. And again, I'll pull it back to Andor and Dr. Aphra and stuff here in just a second, but I can back you on that more than it seems, because if I hear one more person try to bring up Gray Jedi one more time, I'm going to lose my Timbits, because they don't exist. Either you are part of the dogma and you toe the line, or you don't, and you just fall into Force sensitive, because that's what everybody forgets. When it comes to the Force in Star Wars, you have the Jedi and the Sith. They're the most dominant, but they're kind of the minority when it comes to just Force sensitivity at large. But what made the battle of the Jedi and the Sith so big is because the Sith were eradicated. There wasn't supposed to be any Sith anymore in the universe until Palpatine started doing his shit, and the Skywalker saga happened. Go for Papa Palpatine. So, Andor, let's do Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra is a fantastic story. She is effectively an archaeologist and a kind of a scoundrel that exists within the Warhammer, the Star Wars universe.
You could be both. I'm sure there's a Dr. Aphra somewhere in 40K. We could dig him up. It's canon now.
Yeah. She's notable because for a while she was working with Darth Vader in the Empire, and then she betrayed them, and then she betrayed the good guys in the rebellion, and so she kind of takes on this third faction all to herself. She's accompanied by effectively evil versions of R2-D2 and C-3PO. I forget their designations now, but she's got a black armored C-3PO and R2-D2 that runs around with her that are torture droids, and she's basically Indiana Jones if Indiana Jones was kind of a bad guy. That's Dr. Aphra.
I have to make the point that R2-D2 probably the most morally gray character in all of Star Wars.
He's got the body count.
Yeah, R2-D2 is responsible for so many people being dead.
Yeah, of course. But I have to say that the worst torture droid will always be C-3PO.
It's torturous to spend time with him. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
They should have just put everybody in a room. Anytime they need info, just put C-3PO in the room. And he would just keep fucking correcting people until they gave up.
To be fair, that's what his whole purpose was. That's what he was designed and programmed for.
Well, and you can't do that because then we just have to replay the same scene that we got in Cloud City where Chewbacca's getting the pieces of the blasted C-3PO back together.
I do agree. I have to agree that R2-D2 though is the main bad guy in the entire fucking
series.
No,
he's not a bad guy.
I'm not gonna. He's not a bad guy.
He just has no scruples. He's like
he knew everybody. He lived through fucking all of it. He could have fucking gave all the info from the beginning.
I'm not gonna call him the bad guy.
Understand him. He just beeps.
Yeah, but he gives info all the time.
I'm not gonna call him the bad guy because we still fall into the standard role of protagonist versus antagonist. Now his morals are not applicable because he's a machine.
He's a robot.
He's the first ever true neutral character.
False.
Read some Greek history.
Super false.
I'm not reading Greek history. What the
there's
fuck
so
am I
many
going to do
books
that
and shows that had people that were morally neutral before Star Wars came out.
R2-D2.
In any case,
the original Magnificent Seven had somebody that was true neutral in it. Go rewatch the original.
Yeah. So, Andor is a spy story at the end of the day, right? And it falls into the 3 to 5 years before the Battle of Yavin that ended, the fall of the Empire. And so he's part of the rebellion and the insurgency. Now, what we saw of the rebellion before we got really into Andor was very limited. We had Jyn Erso's story and the theft of the Death Star plans. And we had effectively some space battles with Luke Skywalker while they went and blew some people up. Not a lot beyond that. And so now we're getting to see the gritty, behind the scenes, what it took for the rebellion to get where they were in Andor. And I think that story is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Cassian Andor's story has always been.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for all the Bothans.
So that was.
I watched all of season 1, where it was like many Bothans died to get us these plans. I'm like, where were they?
No, so what Jyn Erso took were the Death Star plans for the original Death Star. The Bothans didn't die until Death Star 2, and that's what's leading into the Battle of Yavin.
Was it Yavin 2?
Indeed. I do hope we get to see some Bothans on the big screen. I'm pretty excited about that because there's a lot of conjecture on what the Bothans actually look like, whether they're kind of goat-style people or not. And so I want to see some Bothans, but I digress. So one of the most interesting things about Andor and Cassian Andor's character to me is we get to play into seeing the members of the rebellion that had previously been kind of rebranded. This goes back to Travis's Shades of Grey area. And we get a lot of our canon from the animated shows right now, right? We have Bad Batch, we got Rebels, and I want to bring up Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
Because Saw Gerrera is a rebel leader that took the rebellion and turned it into a terrorist action. And he went hard. He started off as a radicalized youth and then became this rebel leader that does not care. He will do whatever it takes to bring the Empire down.
War Crime Wednesdays.
War Crime Wednesdays. That's exactly right. It's never a war crime the first time. Saw Gerrera. Yeah, go ahead.
Without him, though, I don't think the rebellion would have gotten to where it did.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Just because he took so much heat off of them by fucking being a terrorist.
No, yeah, he's
definitely
a big key player, but.
And he didn't even mean to be that. I don't think at all. He was just
he just really wanted to kill Imperials. Like that was his whole. That was his big character motivation.
He died in a bad way, though. Like I think that was fucked.
Oh, on Rogue One?
I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead.
I do.
They glassed that whole city.
No, I don't think he's dead. It's Saw Gerrera. I guarantee you, he had
press X to doubt.
Yeah, he had some kind of contingency. The man was too paranoid. Like he couldn't
yeah, but
stay.
That's
they're
a fair
glass in a
point,
planet. Like
I
they don't
don't-
have teleporting.
Well,
how
they
do
don't
you-
have
how do you
teleporting, but they do have
counter-
shields. They do have that kind of stuff. So imagine he's got a panic room, right? That's heavily shielded because you don't need a lot of it. You look at the droidicas, right? Even that far back, they have a damn near impenetrable shield around them. If he does the same thing in a little closet and then launches that closet through the rubble into the atmosphere, he could get out. They could save him. Now, are they? I don't know. But
I doubt
Saw
it.
Gerrera, yeah, I doubt it. He's not fan favorite enough for them to put that much effort into it.
Forrest Whitaker also really old.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But
yeah, I'm just throwing that.
their use of Saw Gerrera in Andor was perfect to me. It was so perfect because we travel along with Cassian Andor. We get to see the stuff that he's forced to do, the decisions he's forced to make, and our faith in him as being the good guy continues to wane and wane and wax as we have to watch what he has to do in order to accomplish the mission. And then they put him in a room with Saw Gerrera. And you're like, no, yeah, hey, cool. Because Saw Gerrera, everybody hates Saw Gerrera. Other rebels hate Saw Gerrera. I'm not even sure Saw Gerrera is a fan of himself because he's a bad guy. I mean, yeah, he's working for the rebellion because he's radicalized against the Empire, but ultimately he doesn't care about civilian casualties. He'll do mass bombing events, and
He'll do public bombing
point,
events.
oh yeah, and one thing at this point we got to remember is that there's an entire generation of people that have grown up in the Empire and are happy little loyal Imperial citizens. You can't be a pure evil organization. People won't back you, right? You can get up to a certain critical mass. Again, World War II theory, right? Where people are backing you because they don't have a choice. But on a galaxy-spanning event, you have to have an iron control over every little thing.
Yeah, and I mean, the saga is, but again, it goes back to my original point. Why I like spycraft movies so much is that it's that sense of realism. You can't be morally
you
perfect,
can't be shiny.
right? Like, you don't come out shiny and clean on the other side of spycraft. You know, the James Bond movies, specifically the Daniel Craig ones, if I'm being honest, the way he callously throws people aside quite often. Eric, I don't know what you're doing, but it's making me very uncomfortable.
He's real excited about this part.
Why are you so excited about Star Wars? Could you turn your camera off before you do that? Good Lord, man.
My foot's itchy.
But no, I think you're absolutely right. I think especially the use of intelligence is such a perfect example because you're absolutely right. You don't get to come out the other side of that feeling good about yourself, right? You have to hold on to the end result. But spycraft is a ends justify the means narrative.
Well, and he talks about that several times throughout the show, like how the ends justify the mean, and like if we don't do this, then everything was for nothing. Like he mentions all these things several times.
Spy masters excel at knowing how to use people and how to effectively throw them away.
Well, you look at Andor. Before he was a spy, Andor was a thief. Like he was a street thug thief, and it made him perfect as a spy. And James Bond, what everybody fails to realize because of the way the James Bond franchise and the movies took, is that the best spies, whether you're looking at real history or in fiction, are not special.
No.
They are not hot. They are not sexy individuals with all the money. They are entirely forgettable, invisible faces.
Yeah, they're super not like they look like the most average person on the planet. I will countermand you on one thing. The honeypot scheme, which is a very common tactic for spycraft, is always with very attractive people. But again,
if you're running a honeypot, which the honeypot was originally a con, it was a confidence man's kind of turnover, but it's great in spycraft.
It's an easy way to get information out of people.
Absolutely. But you have spies that are tailored for that, right? You start looking at what was the French girl's name? I forget. But she used the honeypot scam a lot. And so if you're a spy that's really good looking, you use that and you know that.
Sean Connery.
But you're a very short-lived spy because once you're famous, you can't be a spy. And with Cassian Andor, I think Diego Luna's portrayal of Andor is perfect. I think Diego Luna, I mean, he's an attractive guy. I would say he's fine, but he's definitely not stick in your mind famous. I could probably walk by him in Walmart.
Yeah, he's not Brad Pitt. He's not
Brad Pitt, you know? And I think that his chemistry with Andrea Arjona's character, hold on, I have it pulled up, Bix Colleen, is fantastic because it is not a ride off into the sunset, happily ever after relationship. This is a tumultuous, stressed, grief-ridden thing because they've both had to deal with such an incredible amount of stress, I guess is the best way to put it.
And one, like, again, just because we know how this story eventually ends, right, with Rogue One, those people that do the spycraft stuff, it's never, like, there's never a happy ending condition. You're a spy until you're found out or caught or in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Like, you're literally part of that until you become useless, and then you become a liability, right? Because there's no retirement plan for spies,
No,
right?
you don't even get old as a spy.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, he's not effective anymore, but he knows all of the stuff that we do. That's definitely a big risk. It's time to ripcord it.
On the subject of old spies in Andor, Stellan Skarsgård, his portrayal of Luthen Rael is so perfect. He's probably my favorite
good actor
character in the show. Yeah,
I loved him in season
that.
1. He was so good in season 1. And again, like I said, the spycraft stuff. How the way they go about getting information from people, the way they like manipulate, and again, the way Cassian throws people away is very accurate to what that spycraft is about. You're useful until you're not.
Absolutely.
Or I throw you away in a useful way.
And this actually brings up a fact that for me personally, again, I brought up everybody has those things in Star Wars that they attach to, right? And Travis, you'll know this was coming, but Andor gave us some of our best depictions of both the ISS and the ISB in Star Wars, which are factions nobody ever talks about: the Imperial Intelligence Service and the Imperial Safety Bureau, because it's kind of like the FBI and the CIA, and the fact
Eric, you're clearly clacking really buddy. Loud. I don't know how aggressively you're talking to somebody.
I can't even hear. I'm typing into for YouTube, but I can't even hear
that's what you're doing. But yeah, it's just like,
sorry, I can't even hear it at all.
Lone Veteran brought up Ray and Jar Jar in the chat box, and so obviously Eric is.
It sounded like somebody tap dancing from your microphone.
But yeah,
sorry, yeah.
With the IIS and the ISB, the only other real depictions that we got with any kind of meat to it, because we've seen them a little bit in even some of the original movies, right? We get to see a couple of agents and that kind of thing. We got to see them a little bit in the Solo movie. The Rebels, I think it was Rebels animated show, had one ISB agent, but these kind of investigative law enforcement intelligence agencies played such a major role in the rebellion and the fall of the Empire that I can't believe they haven't been featured more. And I'm glad Andor is doing that. We get to see what it looks like.
And I love that they're going up against other like intelligence agencies too. That you see as like, we have to, you have to watch out for normal Imperial patrols, but there's like, well, what if they send, in the same vein that they want to infiltrate the Empire to get information, the Empire at the same time is trying to get people into the rebellion. So it's this like point counterpoint spycraft stuff that I absolutely dig it.
Well, and I love the perspective of it all, right? Because for any average Joe citizen of the Empire, the rebellion is very much propagandized and turned into these terrorists and these insurgents, and they're damaging your way of life and damaging the economy and blah blah blah. And they talk about it in Andor season 2 in the use of propaganda to turn the spider planet against itself and against the rest of the galaxy.
You were talking about propaganda, and it always triggers this one memory, but it's the Japanese propaganda against the United States Marine Corps of they eat people. Like, they have to kill a family member.
Turn them into demons.
Yeah, they have to kill a family member before they can become a Marine. That's part of their graduation ceremonies, to kill a close family member, or their children or something like that. And like, it was effective because then they were just terrified, which that kind of worked in
our favor
too, because they were just like, oh shit, the Marines are here, which is a fair reaction. I'm terrified of them too, and I know them like just in a recreational basis.
If only they knew it just took a box of crayons.
Oh, you military folk.
Yeah, but that just gets them wind up, because like once they're out, what then? Everybody eats the purple colored ones first, and then after that, they're just left with oranges and yellows, and nobody's having a good time.
And another thing to bring up with Star Wars real quick is there's a release done that also is done really well. I've yet to watch it. I don't know if you guys did yet. Tales of the Underworld.
Oh, I've not. I actually didn't even realize that
had released. 100 on Rotten Tomato.
Whoa.
I definitely gonna have to put that on the list then.
Yeah, that's definitely going on the list. So I did see that one when I sat down to watch what is available of Andor season 2 in preparation for tonight's show. it popped up. It's advertised, and I was like, oh, cool. I love watching those animated kind of series that they've been doing like that. In my
I
opinion,
liked
some of them,
Visions.
yeah, I thought Visions was great. I like seeing Star Wars in multiple different animation styles. I thought was super cool.
Yeah. I mean, there were some episodes I didn't really care for, but again, when it's those like
The one-shot kind of chapters.
one-shot standalone stories, like it's fine. It's like, oh, that episode was okay. I mean, it's the same thing with what was the one on Amazon Prime that did the like episode that was about D&D, and then the episode that was about the Space Marines, and then like they did one like they had a couple episodes in there where I was just like,
Pac-Man, and they had
I was like,
that Pac-Man one was sweet. But yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, it was good. It was very good.
I'm a particular fan of the Arnold one where he's on the island getting reincarnated. But I digress. So yeah, Andor.
There's a lot of people preferring Jar Jar Binks over Rey.
Well, yeah. Well, it's because Jar Jar Binks had depth and character development.
Jar Jar Binks was the true Sith. Darth Jar Jar.
That's one of the few Star Wars. We talked about this in the Star Wars conspiracy episode. I think I believe that wholeheartedly.
Why not? Why not?
Like the whole drunken master monk analogy to and this is where it kind of winds back into Acolyte, right? Andor is already showing us that there was dark sides and grittiness to the war, which everybody knew.
Yeah,
with the Acolyte, whether you felt good or bad about a lot of it, what the Acolyte, in my opinion, did really good is with their Sith Lord, who I believe Roman Crow called Darth Arms, which is perfect. So Darth Arms hid who he was.
Good.
He was a secret.
Great costuming in the Acolyte. Yeah. I'll give it that. Great costuming.
And that's what a Sith Lord should be to me. You don't get to do what Palpatine did with every Sith Lord. And that's so far what they've done. Palpatine, who went out there in his black robes and his decaying flesh, and he's just like, I've been left scarred by the attempt on my life. And I'm just like, yeah, man, Darth Nihilus did that 10,000 years ago. Like, calm down. With Darth Arms, who I forget his actual name, I'm just going to call him Darth Arms, he hid who he was, and he was able to conceal his Force sensitivity, and he played dumb. And I think that it's really likely that Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be that in The Phantom Menace, and fans hated Jar Jar so much that suddenly Count Dooku just existed, and nobody was supposed to ask questions about that, because Count Dooku just showed up in Episode 2, and we rolled with it. Is an amazing character. I'm loving the fact we got Count Dooku. I loved his portrayal.
Did you read his book?
I've not read his book.
Good stuff. He has a good story. They put a lot into him. Yeah, it's nice.
I loved his animated shorts in, I think it was Visions, or it was one of those animated series, Star Wars things.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it was.
That kind of explained some of his backstory. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it, and so I wouldn't trade Darth Jar Jar for Count Dooku, but I kind of wish we had both.
Darth Jar Jar would be wild.
Okay, so we're getting towards the end here, so I've got to do the question.
Yeah.
So here's the big thing with Star Wars. What's one particular scene? I've got mine. What's one thing in Star Wars that happened that really contradicted everything in Star Wars? Now, I'm probably explaining this super poorly, so I'm going to do mine first. So my biggest problem with Star Wars, out of everything that happened, was how Luke Skywalker, after building his academy, gave up on it so easily and just let everything die off. Like, even Mark Hamill came out and was like upset about it. Like, Luke would have never done this. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, even he came out. So what is your Star Wars situation similar to that that's just fucking universe busting that happened? Go ahead, Ryan.
The Holdo maneuver in, I believe it was Episode 8, where Holdo was being pursued by the Empire. They're kind of like stuck at sublight, and then they get into this huge orbital fight, which was actually really well done. I liked it. And then she just turns the cruiser and throws it into hyperspace. That is not how interdimensional travel works. Yeah, and I think everybody kind of forgets that in Star Wars. Is you're not going very, very fast in Star Wars. It's not what it does.
That so much, because then that led to so many questions that Ryan and I had. I was like, why not just
put a hyperdrive on a rock?
Yeah, just get a gigantic asteroid, throw a hyperdrive on it, and then just yeet it into Imperial vessels. Like, if that was something that could be done, why wasn't this used? Like, why wasn't the Empire using this to destroy planets? Like,
and there's a whole bunch of like conjecture about how the debris gets into the hyperspace lane and makes it where you can't use it anymore. And I'm like, the Empire doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, they don't care.
Additionally, that's not how hyperspace works. They take a spaceship, they put it into another dimension that is smaller, effectively, and then it comes back out. You're not actually moving very, very fast.
No.
You're in a whole other dimension.
Some of the slowest ships in sci-fi. I mean, technically speaking.
Star Destroyers. Super Star Destroyers.
Super slow. Super slow. That is the most ponderous craft. The Battle of Yavin proves that point to where it had to be in an orbital position to get a shot.
Yeah.
Tells me that craft is unwieldy and slow. So yeah, the Holdo maneuver is definitely one that I agree with Ryan
Can't
on.
stand it.
I can't stand it. I mean, this is going to be the one that a lot of people have, but I'm just going to go with it because it bothered me a lot. But like, Luke going, I have to kill my nephew because he had a bad dream once. This is the guy who spent a 3-movie arc saying that no one was past redemption.
Yeah.
He spent the entire last movie trying to convince his father that he could still join the light side. He was built on the foundation of that no one was beyond redemption. And then it gets to the new series and he was like, my nephew had a bad dream, so I was just going to lop his head off in his sleep. Like, that is the most anti-Luke thing I have ever seen in my entire life. It would have been so much better storytelling-wise if Kylo had found, like, an ancient Sith text or a holocron and it corrupted his view of the Force or whatever. Or if he had been involved in some sort of conflict. Or if Luke had been just, like, too hard on him during training, like having too high expectations or whatever. But him just be like, I had a bad dream, and when I woke up, my uncle was going to lop my head off.
Yeah,
Does
it really
not fit for pattern.
Even with Luke Skywalker's character development, and Roman Crow threw into our chat that those movies don't count or exist. I kind of agree, but
Alternate
in case
reality.
I digress.
Kylo Ren was, God, he was such a good character.
I actually
wasted.
I like his
I think he was
Kylo
wasted.
chest.
So there was some stuff that the sequel trilogy, in my opinion, did really well that nobody else had the balls to do. They're very few and far between, but there are some there. What's his name? The hotshot
Poe Dameron.
Poe Dameron, I think, was a great example of, like, you can get the hotshot pilot that does amazing things, but he can fail. Poe Dameron's, he fucked up everything in the second one.
By convincing people to go rogue and continue the bombing run against the Star Destroyer. Like, he countervened orders because he thought he knew better.
And Star Wars hasn't done that before. They never showed. They talked about it, but they never showed Han Solo doing something risky and stupid and failing. And
which,
I liked that.
Canonically speaking, happened quite a bit.
Happened a
Han
lot.
Solo's success rate much lower than his fail rate. But he was also one of those guys that was just not risk averse at all, especially in, like, the novels and comics and stuff. He was just like, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
And so what I was going to bring up with Luke Skywalker's arc is not only did that break his character development so far, because I 100% agree with your assessment, but it changes the entire narrative framing. Because Star Wars is a hero's journey. That's the narrative frame.
Yeah.
And that now portrays Luke as the call denied instead, and a very poorly written call denied at that. And it's just, it changes the entire narrative framing. It never would have happened that way.
Yeah, like, there's just no, from moment one, like, of his journey until the end, it's all about, like, again, it's all about that redemption, you know.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, he's constantly seeing the good in Han Solo, even when Han's just like, I'm here for the money, dog. You know, he's always seeing the good in everybody, and that's, like, the whole point. It's such a major character tenet, and then to have it thrown away because his nephew had a bad dream was just so... I'm not going to say distasteful, because it's not really distasteful. It was just really, like...
Had it been
poorly developed, you know, it'd have been one thing if, like, you know, Kylo goes on this journey or whatever, finds this mysterious Sith artifact and falls to the corruption of the dark side or whatever, and then gets in a fight with Luke. I could see Luke being like, yeah, I have to stand up to him because he's become evil, instead of he gently brushed against something dark side, had a bad dream, now I'm chopping him into pieces, is absolutely bonkers.
And I think they could have got away with that, or if they wouldn't have also made him abandon the galaxy. Like, you could have done one of the two, maybe. Even though it would have been totally off character for him, maybe you could have got away with one of the two, but he would definitely never fucking do both. Like, that would have never been him like to do either one is stupid, but to do both, like you literally did a 180 with a character.
In the books, he does though. He it took him multiple attempts to get a Jedi Academy going again, and then
but
after
he
his
bails
first,
like
yes, he does. He bails. He straight up disappears. He was like,
right,
I'm obviously not.
I read a lot of books.
Yeah,
I never
he's
read
like,
that
I'm
one.
obviously not in tune enough with the Force. Now he didn't just abandon the Force like he did.
No,
he
was going like meditating, and
but he was just like, I have to figure out because he's like, I think his was like, I'm doing something wrong. That's why these students are failing, is because I'm doing it wrong. I have to go figure out how to do it right. But he straight up removed himself. He went no contact. He abandoned R2. He left a false trail where nobody could find him. He didn't tell anybody where it was going. Crazy, terrible things were happening all throughout the galaxy. Like there was several upshot, like old Imperial generals that were trying to reform the Empire, and he just set it all out because he had to figure out how he needed to be a better Jedi. And that's fine. I will say that's a fine narrative point. It was like because he's one guy and the galaxy's huge, right? Like,
well, and Eric had a point. One or the other would have been.
Yeah, it could have worked. Like you could have done one or the other. Like the only way I could see him completely abandoning and doing both is if he actually would have killed his nephew.
Yeah.
Like if he did kill his nephew, then I could see him.
Well, and here's the easy fix. If it wasn't Luke Skywalker, you take him out and put any other Jedi Master there, absolutely. I see that going down 100%. Mace Windu aces that kid. Yoda aces that kid. No contest. They don't even feel bad about it afterwards.
I would love him.
Qui-Gon doesn't.
Well, Qui-Gon's been dead for 60 years at this point.
Yeah, Qui-Gon's been dead for
if he was alive, though.
Yeah,
Mace Windu was dead.
I hold that Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi were really the aspects, and that's why I get so frustrated when people are like, "Oh, Qui-Gon Jinn was a great Jedi." No, he wasn't. Qui-Gon Jinn was.
He was in trouble all the time.
But he was the Jedi. He was the one that behaved and upheld what the Jedi were supposed to be. Every Jedi should hope to be Qui-Gon Jinn, and I think that's what made Obi-Wan what he was. And I think that the Obi-Wan that we got in the show and the prequels are perfect Obi-Wan.
That was going to be my second. Like that's my second one that I disagree with heavily. Is in the Obi-Wan show. I definitely think his character would have killed Vader.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that.
So like that was my second big turning point in like all the Star Wars stuff that bothered me, other than like Luke's portrayal, is Obi-Wan 100% would have killed him, knowing what he's done to the galaxy and everything.
He
didn't believe in redemption.
Much. He
didn't believe in redemption.
False. He 100% does, because he's gone up and down in his, I guess, faith to the Jedi Order. He's had those turbulent moments, and so he understands about redemption, because he in fact has gone up and down with his, with his faith in the Jedi Order. So him loving Anakin enough to where he can't bring himself to end his life totally tracks for his character.
Well, and remember,
the first time, not the second.
But remember, Obi-Wan Kenobi was also the one that very, very commonly refused to actually kill living enemies. When he was in the Clone Wars, he would lay waste to droids. No problem. No harm, no foul. I'll tear up robots. But when it came to their commanders, the admirals, even General Grievous up to a point, he gave General Grievous a chance. He told him, stand down, do things. In that fight, I think it went on twice as long as it had to, because he was trying to get Grievous into an injured position to be captured. I think that Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan Kenobi is hesitant at all times to end a life, and I think that's because he believes in redemption.
I also think he had additional attachment from Qui-Gon to Anakin, which is why he couldn't kill him, because Qui-Gon had such a great amount of faith in Anakin from a very early point. And so killing Anakin would be like a betrayal to Qui-Gon, and that's not something he could morally live with.
Yeah, he was already suffering from the Clone Wars at that point. So I'm not disagreeing with you outright, Eric. To be fair, I think your point. I see your point, 100%. I think there is a certain point where Obi-Wan Kenobi will value the betterment of the many. Yeah. Over that, but
I mean, we see that when he finally just decides to use the blaster and end Grievous.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's a point where you just.
At a point, he would pick the galaxy, like especially after seeing him having killed all the kids and stuff like that. Like, I don't think there's any doubt that.
But again, it boils back down to if he strikes down Anakin, he's betrayed Qui-Gon.
Well, and he was struggling that whole time, and even at the end of the prequel trilogy, trying to separate Anakin and the boy he knew from Darth Vader. Because,
and to be fair, in Episode 3, he was fairly certain he had killed Anakin.
Yeah, he thought it was done.
And to be fair, I digress, guys. He was real close. It was real.
I mean, cutting off all the limbs and throwing him in a volcano was
real close, man.
But we are running late on this one, guys.
Done too.
Yeah.
Well,
if you listen to the show this far, nice. If you listen to the show this far, guys, obviously you're liking what you're hearing. And so because of that, I'm going to issue a call to action. Please give us a like, give us a share. More importantly, we want to hear from you. This is the one I always plug at the end of the episodes. We want your comments. We want your messages. Tell us about your Star Wars takes. Tell us what you agreed with, what we missed. Tell us what you didn't agree with, and help us learn and help us look at things from a different point of view. And do all that fun algorithm stuff. Just as a reminder, the best way to support the channel if you like what you hear is to buy the merch. We got some great stuff, guys. I can't talk about it enough. We have some really cool stuff. Second best way, of course, is to do all the algorithm things and make YouTube give us money instead of you. Yeah, do all the fun algorithm stuff. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a share. Tell your friends about us, and give us that comment so we know what you think.
Eric, you got anything else?
No, dude. Bye.
And with that, we're going to bring this episode to a close. This is the month of Star Wars because this is the May.
This is the May.
And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys.
Bye.
It's nice to say goodbye.